All right, welcome to another episode of Panakal Podcast for Geeks, the show about good friends hanging out, talking about things we all love. I got it right that time.
Got it.
Y'all know my
Yep.
co-host Andrew Sides, and our guest today is Jordan Lablond, who I've been trying to get you on for a minute, and I think I just keep getting busier and busier. And we were supposed to do this call 2 days ago, and I got super sick, and I think it's from a really good place I normally eat at, but it caught up to me 2 days later. Parsons in the city, which I
Okay.
don't know if you've been there, Jordan, but it's good chicken. And when I was there, instead of ordering the chicken, I decided to order the seafood because everyone's like, the seafood here is good too. But I should have been like, we're at a chicken place. Don't order the seafood. And I was like,
I
fried shrimp sounds good
I
on a
don't
list
make
of
it to
bad
the
ideas.
to the city very often, but
Oh,
Great.
okay.
I have heard
It's
of
in
it.
like
Truthfully,
Lincoln Park, I think. You have a
shrimp.
Parsons by you?
Out of all the seafood that I normally don't like, shrimp is the one I'm definitely like. That
I
seems like it's
love
always a
shrimp.
sketchy thing.
Here's the
Yeah.
thing: if you put like that, they put like those cocktail shrimps out, like barbecues and stuff, and like
Hmm.
they're just sitting there, right, in ice, and they've been there for like hours. My dumb ass will go over there and just start eating it because that's how much I like shrimp. But like,
Same.
I didn't get sick for like I was fine, and then 2 days goes by, and I was like I wasn't like throwing up or anything. I just had like the shakes. Like I had lunch,
Oh,
and then I came upstairs, and I was just like, I don't feel so good. And then like by the time I messaged you guys to say we need to reschedule, I was just laying in bed like shivering, and I was like, maybe I literally thought I got COVID because I was just like headaches, cold, warm, and then I was fine by the next day. I literally just stayed in bed. I was just like, what? Sucked.
don't get the clams or what
The
are they called?
shrimp, man. I would not have pushed my luck with clams. So, so that was a bad day to be me. But it also, in my back of my head, I'm always like thinking about all the other work I'm not doing because I couldn't even do anything. I couldn't even like sit there and watch a television show on my iPad. Like just to be like, let's do something. I was
Right.
just like dead to the world. So, either way, um, Jordan, I didn't get a chance to even hang out with you at Magic Con. It was so busy there. I came by once, and
Yeah.
you had a crowd of people there. So you must have
Yeah, it
a
was
good, decent
crazy.
fan base.
Well, I was there with my Birds of Paradise group. We're a group of content creators just working to bring more diversity into Magic the Gathering. And we had a play area at MagicCon Chicago for the first time. And I did like a live painting of a cosplayer
Yep.
as Jace Balaran, and it was really fun. And we had a bunch of people come over, like a mom and her daughter came over, and they were painting with us, and that warmed my heart. Anytime you can encourage a kid to,
Yep.
paint,
I agree.
amazing.
Yeah.
You look be an artist. Now I don't think this was the first career you picked, right? Were you always?
I mean, I didn't really pick a career. I just had jobs. I was
Yeah.
just working. I worked in healthcare for a long time. I worked in a group home. And then after that, I worked as a makeup artist for a little bit, and then I just worked at a Blick Art Materials for a little while too.
I've spent so
Um,
much money at Blick.
haven't we all?
And we all.
Did you work at
um,
one like I remember the one in Chicago. So I used to go to the one on State Street, and they would
no,
always lock up their Montana. I did a lot of graffiti art, which you can kind of tell from my own work. And every time I'd go in there, they'd be like, I had to wait for someone with a specific key. And I was just like,
yeah, they always
what?
lock that up. People steal it. Yeah,
Apparently, it was really popular.
I worked at the one in Wheaton
Oh,
for a
that's a nice
while.
one too.
Yep.
I think that's the one I go to now. It's Donata Square, right?
Yeah, it's either
Yep.
that or the one in Schaumburg. It's decently close to us.
Yeah, they moved
That
that
one's
one, didn't
actually
they?
bigger. Yeah, they
That
renovated it. It's really cute now. They do
I remember that
printing
one.
too.
Yeah, I went to school in the Art Institute in the city and the Art Institute over there in Schaumburg. Well, it's gone. That whole company, they're all gone now. And apparently, if you went to the Art Institutes, you can get your loans forgiven or something. And I'm
Mm.
like,
Oh
okay,
yes. Yeah, because it was basically predatory school. Yeah.
yeah. And on a quick student loan rant. I'm trying to get. I have to fill out. I went to fill out the paperwork, and they were like, "Yeah, it's literally it says please make sure you have 3 hours to get through this." And I
Oh,
was just like, "What takes 3 hours? Like
Wow.
a blood sample or something?" But like 3 hours. But if it works, I can get those loans reversed. And then I also went to Full Sail, which I heard is also under the same like, hey, you guys are in trouble for
if it
inspection.
isn't, it should be.
Yeah, I mean,
I
they never
mean,
found me work.
I did go to a state college for art for a few years. I was a studio art major with art history, and they didn't teach technique at all.
Yeah,
But I was a dumb little 18-year-old.
Well,
Uh,
what did they teach then, if not technique?
they
Just
taught us
like
how to talk
software
about
or?
art. No, it wasn't even
Oh,
digital. It was mostly like conceptual, how to talk about art,
oh.
content.
sure.
It wasn't, people were doing all kinds of things. And my professors had a very, very subjective way of grading, and
Mm,
I remember our
it wasn't
professors
very
like
useful.
that
yeah.
because I went to
Yeah.
CDH for some of my electives before I went to the Art Institute because they were like it's cheaper if you go there. And I was like cool, but I took a couple art courses there, and there's this one professor who he had us drawing with like um, charcoal and stuff, which I was like, okay, cool. But then he would like walk us out to like the pond over there. It's a community college, and he'd be like, draw what you see, and then he just never really like I knew my drawing was crap, right? I took one look at it, and I was like, the
It
perspective is
was
off.
it
Yeah, you
was
could
like
tell.
what's her name? Drawing on the right side of the brain kind of thinking, where it's
Yeah,
like it's subjective, man. So I can't
I,
give you a grade on it. It's just
right.
how do you feel about it?
Well, he was
Yeah.
like, I like the fact that you put in the effort and you did your thing. He's like, you did it, you tried, you drew something. And my one friend, I remember, who I won't name, but he took the class because he thought it would be an easy A. And I was just like, it's this is not going to be. As soon as that first session was over, I was like, this is not going to be an easy A, man, because he's actually like he wants you to do some stuff, but he just never gave you an advice. So like, I remember it was
Yeah.
like I got like a B in that class, and I was like barely. I couldn't even. I was just like, I don't know what I got nothing out of it. And I was like, okay, and that's when I
And
was
you
like, I'm
didn't
just gonna
really
go
know
straight
like,
to art.
hmm,
I also had a professor there. This is my first time using Photoshop. I started Photoshop, I think it was 4.0. I didn't even have a
wow.
Wacom. It was on it with a mouse. And
Wow.
that guy, I felt like was learning how to use Photoshop because he was just
Oh,
like,
probably. Yeah,
you
from
could
that
do all
era.
this stuff. He would say all this cool stuff, and then he didn't show us any of it. I'm just like,
Well,
what's happening?
that's like from the era of that's before like Adobe super users, you know?
Correct.
There is
I'm
no
I
super user.
I mean,
Those
one
are
of the
the
coolest
engineers.
Adobe classes I ever took was in the city. My company paid for it. I remember when I had a corporate job, and it was a guy who worked directly with like Lucas, and so he had like all this cool tricks to like how they do concept work for those movies and stuff. Like he worked on like Star Wars, he worked on Indiana Jones, like whatever Lucas had their hands in, he worked on, right? But he was
That
like,
sounds amazing.
it was cool, but he didn't like. He showed us the work he did. He showed us quick examples, but he didn't have us like do it ourselves. Like, like that's how you learn, right?
Mhm.
Like I
Yeah.
mentioned to you, I mentor under Scott Fisher.
Especially for illustration, it's like it's a skill-based industry.
Yeah, you
You
have to
can't
like make me
just.
do it.
Mhm.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Scott
like
makes you
there's a
do the work,
definite
right?
metric to it, yeah.
And that's how you learn. But like, pretty much, I'm sure all of us learn most of our everything we know outside of school, obviously.
Pretty
I
much I would
learned
say
at
yeah.
YouTube University.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
free. It's free to a degree, I guess.
It's
Uh,
such a crap schooling such a crapshoot because, you have art schools, which depending on the one you go to, you're probably gonna get a decent education out, but you can't justify the cost of it. It's so
right.
expensive. It's just so obscene.
Unfortunately, I
You
learned that too late in the game.
Yeah, well, same. And then, you have places like Full Sail or Art Institute. Art Institute, I guess, whatever. I know Full Sail teaches more the software than it does like the theory.
Well, so I
So
learned
say for
media
instance,
design.
it'll teach you like, well, that was that your experience when you're in Full Sail?
Full Sail. I got my master. So I got a master's from Full Sail, and the only
Mm,
reason I went to get the master's was the company I was working for cut our whole marketing department. The
right.
CEO told me, if you get a master's degree in marketing, we'll give you that position. Like, we'll give you the marketing position. I thought that's cool because it comes with more pay. And this
Yeah.
time I'm just focused on a corporate career. So I went to Full Sail, and what they offered was this master's in media design, which is basically advertising and marketing. So I spent a whole year basically rebranding Pacific Sunwear. Like, I
Oh,
came
right,
up
right.
with
Okay.
Yeah, I think you
I
told
had
me
like a
this.
whole ad campaign, all these designs, graphic layouts. Like, I could have taken this portfolio to Pacific Sunwear and been like, if you guys are considering rebranding, here's this cool thing I've done. And they would have been like, fuck out of here. We're gonna fail on our own, you know? But it's like also the first time in my life that I got straight A's down the board, because that's how hard I worked on this degree. But then Full Sail pitches you that they're gonna get you a job as soon as you're out the door. What they don't tell you is they only work with companies that are in Florida.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they have students coming in from all over the world, but they don't say, "Hey, you're from Chicago. Here's our 10." Most of these schools have companies they work with for internships and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Full Sail had nothing. They're like, "Here's a company in Orlando. Here's a company in Jacksonville." I'm not fucking living in Jacksonville.
Oh, you could have
You
been
know,
Jason's neighbor.
I'm surprised Jason lives there. So,
Yeah.
but like,
Um,
so like now there are students there studying like film and stuff, but people
yeah.
are suing them basically for these reasons, right? You're telling them you can get a 99% job placement, so they're banking on that 1% of failure. You
I
know,
I will say, I did not know that their guarantee was like because they work with like companies in Florida,
they don't
and
tell you
me,
that.
well, so like me being based in Orlando, like
Yeah,
where I pass by Full Sail every day on the way in and out of uh the studio and stuff to work and stuff. There's no fucking job market for an artist here, really.
I
Like
mean, there might have
I
been
got
10 years ago.
no, never.
No, okay. So I'll
You
use you when
have
I write my
you
3 hour
have
letter.
you
Like,
have EA Tiburon,
yeah,
uh, who it's their sports division for EA. They develop like Madden, Tiger Woods, that kind of stuff. Um, and then you
Woods.
have like a few random ass companies like the one I work for. Like I do apparel design,
Yeah,
and that's like if it's like adjacent to like theme park stuff, yeah, there's probably a job here and there for you. Not enough in some cases to support like a whole
right.
studio of artists, maybe like one or two artists for a thing. Uh like theme park design. There's a few companies around here for that. But
That does
it's
not
also
sound
more,
fun.
well, it can be. Because it's like depending on the job itself, it could be like concept art stuff, but a lot of it
That's
is
true.
like architecture or engineering aspects of it. And there's not a whole lot in terms of like selling the razzle dazzle of it. It's, I mean, you do have that in your initial pitch thing, but then you do have to eventually sit down and be like, okay, how the fuck does this work? How am I doing this? But
Right.
yeah, no, knowing that they offered it in Florida, it's like, yeah, what the,
Well, I
there's
didn't
no
know that
job
till I
market here.
spoke
Yeah,
to like my rep after I graduated. I'm like, all right, it's time to get a job.
yeah.
Here's my
Anyway,
portfolio. Here's all my stuff. And she's like,
that,
here's this list we've got for you. And I'm like, this is in Florida.
yeah,
This is in Florida, 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 Florida. I'm
but
like, something's wrong. I
that's
live in Chicago.
that's a whole other podcast on art schools that I could just
Yeah, we
throw
can do
over.
that later.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Yeah.
about how Jordan got into
Yeah, sorry,
magic.
Jordan.
All you have to do is bring up art school and it makes everyone mad.
Oh yeah,
Like
It's
across the
well,
board,
everyone
it's
there's
also the fact
never
that
a
everyone's
we're
good
all
ignorance
just
wants
it's the
conversation.
to.
art school and loans, right? Like,
Yep.
these
It's
loans
a
would go
trap.
away. The amount of people that could just get out of like some serious
Oh yeah.
stress,
Yeah.
But let's talk
For
about
real.
magic, which is something we all like, and that's kind of how I found you, because you were liking a lot of my stuff on Twitter, and
Hmm.
as we've established before we went live, we've met at shows, and I just don't remember. And I'm
Y-
sorry.
Okay.
It's just I will remember from now on, though,
You'll
because
remember next
we've
time.
met. Yeah,
Yeah.
now we've met, so I will remember. It's I have to like talk to people a little bit and be friends with them for a little bit before I start connecting at
Yeah.
shows. But yeah, you were
Shows are so busy.
What's up? Shows
Those
are.
shows are so busy too.
I mean, if you said we met at Gen Con, and Gen Con is like, I mean, I'm talking to somebody every 5 to 10 minutes at that show. It's insane. And when friends stop
Yeah.
by to be like, "Hey, man, it's good to see you. How's it going?" I'm like, "Cool. I definitely want to catch up, but come to the Hyatt. Come where the artists hang out later." And now I said that out loud. A bunch of people are going to
I'll
show
have
up
to do
there.
that next year.
Yeah, totally come hang out. That's like our, that's kind of like our spot because people like to go to like the bars and the restaurants, and the Hyatt's just a hotel. There's a
So
hotel bar, and the
yeah.
artists, most of us are staying at the Hyatt. We're all in those surrounding hotels, but
Well,
um,
I started going to Gen Con because I met Elena Danner at a
she's cool.
smaller con like in 2018, I think.
Okay.
And I wasn't even like seriously making art at that point. I had a couple like drawings of my D&D characters. And she's like, "You could work in the games. You just need to, work on your portfolio some." And that's really all the encouragement I needed. She told me I should go to Gen Con and get portfolio reviews. That's
Yep.
what she did. So that's why we started going. And also, there's tons of tabletop gaming there too. So fun
Yep.
things to do. But we've been friends now for, oh, yeah, since 2018.
Okay.
Because she was tabling at a tiny little show where there wasn't a lot of foot traffic. So I just hung out at her table.
Yeah, she's really. I mean, every time I've interacted with her, she's really, really nice.
She's really sweet. She's really, really busy when she's
She
at
has
conventions most of the
Her
time
career has
now.
blown up.
Yeah.
So good for her. Like I couldn't even talk to her for a second at MagicCon either. The line was, it's like, cool. I will wait from afar.
Yeah. They had to close their line down at like noon.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There was that many people. The people, because it's like her and Chris Ron were like in the front row. Chris's wife was there too. What's her name? Alex. Somebody else I can't remember. But those main show artists in the front there were just like getting like bombarded. It's like if you don't
I
shut
think,
this down, they're not going to get a break or they're not going to get food.
Right.
So that
yeah.
kind of propelled you into working on D&D stuff and Magic stuff, I assume, which is kind of
Yeah.
cool.
I started thinking of it as actually a possibility at that
Mm.
point. And I
Were you
was just
playing
like,
Magic before this?
I was a little bit.
Okay.
Um, a, a guy I worked with at that group home I mentioned working at
Yep.
got me into it. We would play on our overnight shifts because there was like nothing to do. It was very just like kitchen table magic. We
I
didn't know
know
what we
those
were
nights.
doing. And then I kind of fell off with magic for a few years, and then I started playing again. Oh, 3 or 4 years ago,
Hmm.
just playing Commander because I can pick a theme and just run with it. Like, oh, fairies, elves. There you go.
Yep. That's how I played all throughout high school and college, and then I stopped when I had to live on my own basically because I was like, this is an expensive hobby, and a lot of my friends stopped
And me.
playing, and then I was living in the city, and pretty much everyone in the city just wanted to like go bar hopping or do hangouts. No, and if I was like, anyone want to play some D&D, they'd be like, you can go fuck yourself, and then
Things are
once
so
I got
different now. Now you ask people to play D&D and they get excited.
I
right.
know.
At least I feel like.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. But it's like
Yeah.
I had to wait till like I kind of built back I started doing this thing in the industry, and then I found kind of like my people, right? Who were like, they play Magic, they play
Yeah.
D&D, and then I literally didn't start playing Commander seriously till like a year ago. I was at last year's Gen Con. A mutual friend of ours, Josiah, he got me a one Commander deck. I can't remember which one it was, because here's what's happened. I
Was it
don't
a
have any.
pre-con?
It was a pre-con, and I don't have any decks at all made at this point. So he went and found me one, and I got it. And then I have another friend, Jake, who um, sent me like a bunch of commander decks. He sent me the Sliver deck. So he sent me all the Commander Masters, basically.
Oh, yeah. Those ones were expensive. Those are good
Yeah.
ones.
So I love Slivers,
Yeah,
but
things
nobody wants
started
to play
really
those.
like picking up for me when I started interacting more with other Magic players online.
Yep.
And then people started noticing my art. Before that, it just was like, focus on something for 80 hours, post it on the internet, just throw it into the void, and it's just gone.
No, I've read some of
And
your
then
so
start on
like
the
your
next thing.
posts. You definitely know Magic. You probably know Magic way better than I do because I've read some of your posts where you're like, I'm building this deck with X, Y, and Z, and I have to like Google it to be like, what the hell does that card do? And then I can, and then I'm sitting there looking at it like, because with commanders, there's always a combo, right? And it's like, how do you work that combo into the game? And I'm just like,
I'm
oh,
more of a
that's
synergy player than a combo player, but yeah.
yeah.
Sometimes you need the combo if you're not playing combat damage.
I mean, this is all like again, this is like I had to like pick apart the pre-con decks, right? Because I'm just like, you can't. You could play them straight out of the box; they're fine,
Mm.
but they're more fun if you like fuck with them.
Yeah, if you
Like,
customize them a little bit more. I mean, that
yeah,
sliver deck is pretty good to go, but it's 5 colors, so you have to fix up the land
it's
base and
chaos.
yeah.
I'm reworking the Fey deck though from oh
Wilds of
man,
Eldraine.
Eldraine, yeah. But my
Yeah.
friend sent me like this link with like some dude made a bananas deck out of it. Like you got to take out about 8 cards, and then but some of the cards were like $20 cards. I'm like, yeah, bro.
What card is $20 card?
Dude, some of the
Oh,
cards are rares. And they're hard. They're like not
Oh
hard to
god.
find. They're just
I think
rares.
20 is a lot. Oh
It's not.
God.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
There's more.
no,
Like
I know there's like
some people will put like a mana crypt in their deck, and then that's like $300
Yeah,
card.
right. Oh wow, okay.
There's
I
certain
would
ones that
not
just
play a
sit
three
There
on
hundred
there
dollar
are
hand.
deck.
people. Yeah,
Then
that
there's
was like a scary.
Ragavan. I think Ragavan's under 100, but I think it's probably around 80 or 90. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah.
Yeah,
That
I
was
mean,
like
what's the
I
site?
guess I was
TCG
curious
player.
about like people actually playing with collector cards they have because
Some
I don't know.
people
I think
do.
yeah, that's surprising. I did not know that.
It's like
Yeah.
our friend Joe plays
As
with
a person
like
that's
sign
completely
cards.
outside of the Magic community, yeah, that's
Well,
fascinating to me.
Joe's decks are he plays some decks where he's got like all the cards signed, and I'm always like, I'd be like scared of leaving my house with those cards.
Yeah.
Like if somebody
Yeah.
knows you've got that deck, there's I don't want to say
Well,
Magic fans would jump you, but I feel like they're
well, at Gen
crazy
Con
enough.
last year, someone like stole a whole pallet of Magic
Dude,
cards,
did
and
you
they had
watch all
him
the
Oh,
like
photos of
that's
sign.
right.
that?
Oh, it was so funny.
It was like day 2 of setup. It was all over the place. People walked over to talk to us like, "Did you see these two guys?" I'm like, "What's happening right now?"
And
And the
someone got
video
trampled for Lorcana at Gen Con.
So
That
I
was the
saw
other
the
crazy
fight
thing that
break out for
happened.
Lorcana. It was day 1. They had do you heard what happened with Lorcana? They had people with tickets. Gen
Uh-huh.
Con messed up, reset everything, and basically people that had tickets got bumped, and people that didn't have tickets got in the line. So that happened. People were
Oh
mad.
my
This I can't.
goodness.
You'd have to confirm all this. This is everything the artists were told. Okay, people get in line, and there's this is the front of the line. Here's the Lorcana booth. For some reason, they're like, we're gonna start over here, like towards the back versus the front, and then people got pissed. So while they were trying to figure it out, this fight breaks out, and I'm talking like I was there with my assistant. I'm like, yeah, let's go back to the booth, like because I was
Yeah.
like, I just want to get a deck for my friends' kids, and then we're done. And then the next day they made an announcement. Basically, they said if that happens again, we're going to shut the whole booth down, and then nobody wins. Now, every show I've seen with Lorcana after that, they created like a concert style barricades. Like we just did Kansas City, and they had people waiting across an aisle inside these barricades. And that's because Disney
Oh,
fans are just as crazy as Magic fans. And
yeah,
Lorcana was
yeah.
okay.
They
I don't know if
wanted
you
that
played it.
con exclusive Mickey
Yeah.
Mouse. Oh no, I haven't. It's
Eh,
pretty.
I'll tell you this much:
I
it
heard
plays like
it's not.
Magic to a
Yeah.
degree, but
I've
you're not
what I've
playing to
heard
kill
about
each
the
other.
competitive play, because I have a friend who runs organized play for pastimes.
Yeah,
And he was saying that it's just not balanced very well.
it's
So
not.
the player base, like the competitive scene, is just kind of dying.
I
Star
mean,
Wars
it's got
Unlimited,
like
on the other hand, is apparently amazing. I've been playing that,
I've
so
heard that's good. I have not even. I saw it at Gamma. I wish I had sat down to play it just out of curiosity. But
Mm.
part of me was like, don't get hooked on. Like again, the Lorcana decks I got on a trade, and then I learn how to play. It plays like Magic, but it's like if you and I were playing, basically, I'm just trying to get to 20 points or whatever it is, and you're doing the same thing. But at no point am I'm taking stuff from you to slow you down, but at no point am I like, like in Magic, we're like,
Actively inhibiting a person.
yeah, we're not trying to like kill each other because Disney doesn't want that on
Yeah.
their roster,
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not attacking. It's yeah, they
Right.
got around
And I
that
was just
somehow.
like, all right. And they did a good job of hyping it up, and people went crazy for a
You're not going to
while.
see Mickey Mouse with a bazooka in Lorcana, you know.
But how awesome would that be?
Yeah,
Wait,
they
isn't
could.
couldn't
Yeah,
we
the
Yeah,
make a
voice
they
Steamboat
cast
could have
for
Mickey
just
with
that.
a
done. They
bazooka?
could have done the what's it? Epic Mickey, like him with the paintbrush and stuff
Yeah.
But a
from video game.
bazooka would be cooler. So do you do
Cuphead crossover.
any like Magic like tournaments and stuff like that?
I've only played in one tournament, and it was one that my group Birds of Paradise hosted. It was a standard tournament on Magic the Gathering Arena.
Mhm.
And I won 2 matches, realized the tournament was going to last all day, and then I dropped, which is
Oh,
apparently
yeah.
hilarious that because people do 0-2 drop and I did 2-0. I posted on Twitter that I just wanted to go walk my dog. So, you
I mean,
know.
that's understandable.
I'm really not a competitive player though. I just like the art.
Yeah.
It's talking about the collector market in Magic though. I recently just got hired to make the key art for a convention called CubeCon. It's in
Cool.
Madison,
Oh, cool.
Wisconsin. And the cube format is crazy. So it's a completely community run. Wizards of the Coast has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
Basically, you make your own card pool, um, and it's a curated draft. So you'll pick like a theme. Like there was a Celestia one. So all the cards in our Celestia, 4 people draft the set, and then you play the deck that you build. Um, and people will go crazy to make their cubes like just really, really blinged out. Like
Hmm.
some are completely card alters. And there's a lot of people who just make their living on doing Magic the Gathering card alters. I don't know
Yeah,
if you've seen
totally.
Modfly's stuff on Twitter, but he's amazing. Eric Klug.
Yeah.
Super
S-
cool.
When you so at the CubeCon, do they just buy boosters and build a deck from it?
No, what you do is you can create your own cube with your card list, and then you submit it to CubeCon, and they'll put it in their list of cubes that they'll run, and you literally bring your cube to CubeCon, and other players will play it.
Oh, interesting.
It's a neat little format.
Yeah. It could be crazy because you might be like, I don't want to play this format, but I'm going to try it, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way to do it. Yeah, I don't do any tournaments because I used to do those with my friends back in the day, and I'm a casual player. I like playing with my friends.
Even when I'm playing like a one-on-one Magic, I'm really chatty, and so you know how a sweaty game feels. I don't really like
Yeah,
playing a
yeah.
sweaty game.
My friends are all that way. We just talk, play, talk, play.
Yeah.
If someone seems too serious, I'm out, like one guy in our group can get a little too serious, and I'm just like, look, man, you're not having fun anymore. Then I'd rather just scoop and let you win and just walk away from this because this is gonna get worse for both of us, and then we're both gonna be in shitty moods. Like
Yeah. Yeah, I
um,
mean, you don't want to like walk away from a commander game and in a bad mood. What's the point?
right.
4 player.
But I'm trying not to dive too far back into, says the guy who it has. So now what I was saying is my friend sent me so many decks now, and I'm sitting on like 17 commander decks. I've only opened 5.
My
Yeah,
God.
you should maybe narrow the list down. I don't think I even have 17 commander
They're
decks,
just
and I
sitting.
have a
They're just sitting. You can
lot
see
of
some of them right
commander
there.
decks.
They're just
Hmm.
sitting there unopened. I opened the ones I wanted to play, which is the Sliver deck, the Fey deck. I found the Kaldheim Elves. I think I was telling you about this. Dude, it's
Lathril.
$100 on eBay.
Yeah, Lathril's expensive. She's good.
And I don't know what's going on in Texas. My cousin was at a thrift store and he found 4 of them. for $50 each.
Oh,
Oh
there
And
you
he
go.
wow.
messaged me a photo saying, isn't this what you're talking about like 2 weeks ago? And I was like, please buy all 4 of those. And then I was like,
Yeah.
you can sell the other 3. You're gonna send one to me. Like, and I've been trying to kind of like vamp that elf deck a
I
little.
could help you with that. Elves is my favorite play style
I'll
because
send you the list my friend sent me
I mean,
because
I started making art because of Lord of the Rings when the movies
yeah.
were coming out when I was in middle school.
Do you have
So
those
I
decks
just
at
got
all?
completely swept up in it. I got all 4 of the precons and I've constructed a few decks from the set as well. So
I
yeah,
think they're good.
I'm really into it. They are
Why?
good. Yeah.
Only thing is, I think Andrew, you and I are talking about they never made a dwarf deck, man. Like I was like, what do they got against
Yeah, the
dwarves?
dwarves were really disappointing, actually. There weren't a lot of good legendary dwarves to base your deck around, and people were
Right.
really disappointed in Gimli in general.
Yeah. I mean, that's all for. But I mean, I think that's. I like those decks a lot. I like the elf deck in there. It's pretty solid. I
Elven
mean, if you like elves,
Council,
you like the
yeah.
deck. Period. And I like
I took
Rohan.
that one, and they came out with another one, another Galadriel deck that is Galadriel, Light of Valinor.
Okay.
And she's a
Oh,
3-color Bant commander.
There's 2
Um,
Lord of the Rings commander decks for her.
so they did this like weird little like holiday release like
Okay.
6 months after the set came out, and it was 6 cards based
Oh,
around a character. So they had Galadriel as one of them, they did a Witch King, they did a Gandalf, and they did another Aragorn.
I think
And
it's like
they
opened
were
up in
all
like a
just
big
like a
display,
little,
right?
yeah, it was a big panorama of 6 cards.
I should have snagged it when I saw it. I saw that at Target and I was
You can
like,
get them for
"What is
40
this?"
bucks at Target.
There
Kind of a
you go.
lot for 6 cards.
Yes, exactly. That's why I was like, maybe.
It comes with boosters, so you could get a One Ring in there, you never know.
They found it already though.
Well, the holiday version of the well, first of
Oh,
all,
really? There's a
normal
holiday
One Ring
version.
is like 40 bucks. And then the
Right.
holiday version that Justine Jones did,
Hmm.
um, I love her work, by the way. That one's like $300
Wow. How much
because
did
it's a poster,
what did Post Malone pay for the? Isn't it like a
Oh, it
million?
was
oh, for
millions.
the
Yeah.
like signed one or whatever,
I
or
think it
like
was
the special one.
Some dude found the One Ring and
the
Mhm.
he basically,
serialized one.
yeah, and he sold it to Post. I mean, that dude's a millionaire now, but it's just like
I
that
love it
that
because
dude.
it was a retail worker in Canada
Yeah,
that found it, not someone who was just buying like crates and crates
that's
of
what I
sets.
liked about it.
They did
Right?
that. Yeah.
It was like someone who really deserved that money. But I was just like, how much money does Post Malone make? Cause damn. Also,
I don't
Post
think I
Malone really
can
likes
really
Magic. It's
imagine.
insane how much that man loves Magic. And
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, he's been online playing it a few times on YouTube.
oh, really? I'd like to
Yep.
see his games once. I bet
There's
you
a
that guy
channel
plays high as a
called
kite.
Command Zone that I think he's been on, and oh, I don't know what else he's been on. Seen
I
him a
bet
couple
Post
times.
Malone can play Magic high as a kite really well.
You think so?
I mean,
I cannot.
his decks have all of the most disgusting cards in them, so you don't even have to try
I
that
mean, he's
hard.
got the money, right?
When you've got, yeah,
Here's a
which each
question I've
deck
got
is
for
worth
you.
like fifty thousand
Do you
dollars or something.
do you play with like I got a friend who sometimes wants to test an idea, but doesn't want to spend like 70 or whatever, 40, 50, $80 on a card. So he'll put proxies in, right? Like I don't know, they're not called proxies. What are they called when you like
It's called proxies.
oh, they're called
Yeah.
proxies. I was right. Okay.
Hmm.
See, I'm acting like a guy who doesn't know shit about magic because I really don't know 100% as much as I should. But yeah, so he puts proxies in. And most of us are like, that's cool, man. Whatever. Play, you do you. That's what you got to do to play. But I've seen people get really upset about that. And I'm just like, what are you upset about right now? Like, it's still a game. I understand if
Yeah.
you brought it to a tournament.
It depends on how sweaty the deck ends up being, right? Like I don't care if the proxies are in it.
Right.
It's the rule zero conversation of, how many power ceiling cards do you have in there? Do you have your cyclonic grip? Do you have your force of will? Do you have, all of these like deflecting swat and fierce guardianship? There's a bunch of spells in Magic that are just kind of like good in every deck.
Yeah.
Um, that are very expensive. So most people don't put them in every deck. But sometimes the temptation to proxy every expensive card is right there.
Yeah, I mean he's been pretty good about not going overboard with it, and because I was
Yeah.
like I wanted to test I forgot what it was in the sliver deck. He's like, just print a proxy of it. I'm like, I don't really need to. I'm fine.
Sometimes
So
it's like a $10 card, and you just don't want to spend $10 on some
yeah, I'll send you the list for
card.
the elf deck, and because some of the cards when I looked it up, I was like, dude, this card's like one card was like $60 or something, and I was like, I'm not putting a $60 card in this deck. Like, where's the cheaper version of this? But whatever.
Well, the most annoying thing in Magic to me is like all the most expensive cards are usually lands, like your duo lands and your fetch lands. They're just crazy expensive.
Yeah,
And they're not fun to play, right? You just tap it for a resource.
I have two dual lands that they just stay in a drawer.
Yeah.
And,
That's your, those some people have stocks, you have duo lands.
yeah, those. My one friend went through all my a bunch of old cards, and he was like, "This is worth something. This is worth something." This, and separated everything for me. And I don't know what to use for a price guide Magic. It's like, where do you go to
You
search
just kind of
prices?
you
Because
just kind
baseball
of
has
go
a
on like
Beckett.
TCJ Player and see
That's what I
what the
figured.
median price is. But if you were to sell it to like a game store, they usually only give you 50% of the value. So you have to sell it yourself, and that's a lot of legwork.
I mean, we got once there's people in the industry that we know that'll do some of that stuff for you now. Like as soon as I got my first card, people are reaching out to me. Hey, if you need someone to help you with those APs, and I'm just like, who are you exactly? Like, have I? Like, I've never heard your name before. And then
Oh,
they'd be
was
like,
it Mountain Mage?
no, Mountain Mage. I
No,
got introduced
Mountain Mage is
to.
really cool.
Yeah, so Mountain Mage, I was introduced to after C2E2. What's her name? This woman stopped by. I can't remember her name. She's super nice, and then she was like, "Mountain Mage is a friend of mine," and she wanted to make sure when I have an AP, she'd like to get in on one of those. So I was just like, "Yeah, totally." And then she sent me an
Yeah.
email, which I need to respond back to still because I just saw it today. But Mountain Mage was one of them.
You can just start trading your APs for cards.
Yeah, it's not a bad
That's
idea.
how you're going to
Yeah.
get a really cool commander deck. Someone comes up and wants a drawing from you and show me your trade binder. There you go.
I mean, that's not a bad idea.
A lot of
You're
people do
just
that.
you're
Yeah.
just feeding my habit, is what you're doing. I really should be selling the APs for money.
Yeah.
So I can pay my bills. I did have this cool guy. Well, here's an interaction that happened at the show, which apparently happens all the time. So, do you know what Alan Williams is? There's a lot of graphite drawings, and I think he does graphite and ink now. But back in the day, Alan Williams had a Magic fan stop by his booth, ask him to sign a Magic card, and Alan said, "Yeah, of course. That's why he's there, right?" The guy
Yeah.
put down X amount of cards. None of them were Alan's cards. Like he went and got
Why?
them and came back. I don't know. So Alan signed them all. And I was just like, why'd you sign them? He's like, that's what he wanted. And I was like, okay. So as a C2E2, one of my friends told this customer that was at his booth that I got my first Magic card. This guy likes my works. He came over and was like, I heard you got work with Magic. And I was like, yes, this is true. And he's like, can you tell me what it is? I'm like, I cannot. And he's like, can you tell me when it comes out? I'm like, I cannot. He's like, can you give me a hint? I was like, absolutely not. I'm like, the NDAs for WotC are so tight,
Oh yeah.
You
you
can't
know,
you can't do that.
I can't say anything. And he goes, can you sign a card for me? And I was just like, I don't have a card yet. And he's like, but I have this binder full of Magic cards. Can you just sign a card for me? And I'm just like, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, out of curiosity, I was just like, let me see what you got. And he's got this binder full of cards that are signed by random artists that didn't really, some of them are the artists, some of them are not. And there were about 3 cards in there when I right and looked at them. I said, that's Scott Fisher. And I know Scott's work because I mentor under Scott. So I'm like, oh, I mentor under Scott. So he's like, can you sign Scott's card for me? So I
That's so cool.
quickly took a photo and I pinged Scott. And I was just like, here's this weird thing that's happening. Like, are you cool with me
Just
signing this card?
sign right over the art. Yeah.
Well, I signed
And
on
send
the
it to
yeah,
him.
exactly. Well, I was just like,
You
"Are
know,
you
I
cool with me
wonder. I
signing
wonder.
this?"
I wonder if Scott's run into that too, where he signed some rando's
He
card.
said that's awesome. He's like, "Go." He's like, "Absolutely, go for it. Just go for it." So I signed
I
it,
tried. That's a
took a
very
photo,
Scott
sent it to
response.
Scott. This guy was the guy I signed the card for was he was on cloud nine. He was so excited. And then as I was looking
Yep.
through his binder, I realized there's a couple other artists there that he had in the binder. Like Tyler was there, and Erica Williams was there, and I was like, since you're doing this weird thing where you're just having people sign your cards that don't have cards out yet, I was like a friend of ours, Andrew Thompson's over there. I was like Alex Dos Diaz is over there. So I just started name dropping people, and he's just
Mhm.
like, I'll be back, and he like,
Andrew's doing magic cards now too. That's cool.
yeah, but neither of us have cards out yet. So I was just like, sure, man. Well, that's the,
Takes a couple
but then
years. Yeah.
people are like, that's gonna happen more apparently, and I'm just like, so weird. Is there a market where they're like, this card is drawn by this
No,
guy and it's
it's just an interaction that they want
yeah,
to have. And a lot of times like people want to say like hi to you, but they need like a vehicle to come and talk to you.
To do it instead of
So,
just being
hey, sign
awkward.
something, you know?
yeah. It was fine. He was a nice
Someone
guy. We
asked
had a
me
good
to
laugh.
sign because I play elves all the time. Someone asked me to sign their Priest of Titania.
Hmm.
I did, but
That's a good card.
I did not paint that card. That's a really old card. It's
Is
coming out in
Rebecca
Modern
Gay, right?
Horizons. Yeah. Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
that's an old card. That's one of the cards that was suggested to put in the elf deck.
It's a $5 common, but it's
Yeah,
getting a reprint in a couple months, so
I
just
have
hold off.
it. I
It'll be
have it
cheap.
in my other elf deck. I just have to get through this mess and dig it out.
Yeah.
What other magic talk can we talk about? Are you going
Oh,
to I heard
gosh.
there's
I mean, I could just tell you about my year with with magic.
yeah.
Sure.
So last, not this past winter, but the winter before, I was just watching a YouTube channel called Tulare Community College, and he does these episodes where people come on and play a game. And there was this one episode that had Sheldon Menery, my now friend Bobby Christine, and my other friend Lynn Frank, and I saw the two of them on there, and they were so funny. I just followed them on Twitter and started commenting on their stuff, and then we became friends. And Bobby Christine is the president of this group, Birds of Paradise, and I asked her what it was one night and said, "Hey, I want to do a painting for you." Because at this point, the group was kind of just a group of friends that was
Right.
trying to just get each other to conventions because it's expensive. Um, so I made the painting for them, and we did a big pre-order for playmats with this painting on it. It was really popular, and that got me into the group.
Nice.
And then I just started going to conventions and I applied for Wizards of the Coast as a grant called the New Perspectives Grant.
Yeah.
It's meant for minorities trying to get into magic. Oh, hi, I'm transgender. That's the vehicle for me to get the New Perspectives Grant, right? Um, so I got to go to MagicCon Vegas
Oh, that's
with this
cool.
grant, and Elena was there, so I was hanging out with her. I was like, I've never like traveled on my own really. Um, so I was hanging around her table a lot, and she was like, "I want to get you a portfolio review with Ovidio."
Yeah.
So I met him, and we talked for like 45 minutes to an hour. It was really fun. He looked at my portfolio. He gave me his contact information, and he said, "Hey, I want to help you polish up your skills." So I've been talking to him through emails since then. He's
That's
amazing.
great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Everyone's been so nice. And it turns out you just have to kind of put yourself out there.
Yep.
um, and I spent years in kind of just a cocoon learning the skills, learning to, paint figures. Um, but it's all just kind of coming together now. And I'm getting messaged by people that want me to make paintings for their events. It's cool.
That's cool, man. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
that's awesome. And yeah, I mean, stay humble and you'll do fine.
Yeah.
Like those art directors, I always tell people like, it's as long as you like respect their advice and their time, they're all super chill. Um, they get worked up if you like bombard them like with emails after emails. Like the way I was always taught to do is every like quarter follow up with stuff, right? And
Yeah.
you know, if I had
Yeah,
new
I don't
work,
send them
obviously,
not too often, but
yeah.
it's nice to have like a few people to get a little feedback from.
I mean, you got a
And
video looking over your stuff. That's great, man. That
right?
dude's busy.
He's very nice. He's a very nice person. And we kind of bonded because he actually got into illustration a little later too. So
Yeah.
we were talking about that. And a lot of people that work for Magic, it kind of started as
Yep.
a passion thing, and then turned into a full-time job. So
I think a lot of the art directors there were illustrators for them before they became art directors. Most of them,
There's
anyway.
at least a handful of them that I could think of off the top of my head
Yeah.
are like
Which
that.
is, I think, why they understand like how we work to a degree.
Mhm.
mhm.
Like my AD on this right now is Zach Stella, and like he's super busy, but when he responds, I get like a really good chunk of information, right? And I'm just like, cool, that's what I needed, because I don't want to mess up my first card. So I'm like, I am asking a lot of questions because every artist I spoke to was like, ask the questions. Don't think you can just wing it, right? Like, so when you get your first card, ask all the questions. Don't be like, this is what they want, just be like, how does this sound? So I've been doing a lot of that over and over just to like, because Scott's like, let's make sure that first card's like a banger right outside the gate. And I'm just like,
That's awesome.
trying,
Were you
man.
allowed to like have him like help you with it, or
Scott
since
will
he's
give
also a
me
magic artist?
since I mentor him, Scott will give me some advice. He'll look it over.
Yeah,
And I've been in his classes for the last like what 7 years. So like,
his, his process videos are just so fun to watch.
yeah,
He writes the little guitar riff to go with it, and
Yeah.
that
it's
dude's got like
obvious he's having
70
fun.
guitars.
Yeah,
Um,
Only 70? Always
I
seems
mean,
like he has more.
he does this crazy thing of buying guitars,
Yeah, I
fixing
know
them
he buys
up,
and
and then
sells them.
selling them. He
Yeah.
paints on them, right? And then he sells those guitars, and then he gets new guitars, and just rinses and repeats, supposedly. But then you see all these guitars still hanging in the background. You're like, what
Yeah.
about those 50? But yeah, Scott's someone I can lean on. There's also artists in the industry who are like, I can't really lean too much on Andrew for this one. I usually lean on Andrew for stuff, but since it's under NDA, I can't be like, can you look at this?
yeah.
But there is a group of magic artists who like are friends, so we all just kind of share stuff and be like, because sometimes you look at a piece for, how this is. You look at something for so long and you just like, you don't
Lose
see the
all
tangent anymore.
objectivity. Yeah,
Yeah, you don't
yeah.
see
Oh,
like the random thing you forgot. And people be like, "What's this?" They'd be like, that's a layer I didn't turn off." Like um,
Oh, I hate that.
it happens to me all. It's like my current piece has 300 plus layers on it, and
Yeah, when I show it another artist a piece, I'm always like, "Don't look at my layers. There's too many."
yeah. Well, I used to try to like put them all in like a folder and be like, "This is this. This is this. This is that." Sometimes you just forget, and you know.
What
yeah,
I've been
that's one of
doing
those.
lately is just kind of treating it like the oil painting simulator, so it's pretty
Yeah,
straightforward. Um, but I really should merge the ones underneath it at some point.
I'm so I haven't merged them
Yeah,
yet
I
because
can't
I'm
bring
afraid
myself
of.
to.
Well, right now I'm afraid of the change, right? Like if I submit something and they're like, "Can you change this?" and I'm like, "Oh,
Mhm.
I already merged it," you
Are you
know.
still working on your first card, or are you on your second now?
So I'm finishing up the first one because I got my what they call writers notes, where the writers are
Okay.
like, "Here's the thing you need to change," and I was like, "Cool." And then I got my assignment for the second card, and initially I was like, "Oh, this is perfect. This is right. I can do this." But then the more I started ideating it, the more I'm like, this is not going the way I thought it would go. So I had a minor panic attack the other day, but
I would be exactly the same way,
yeah.
just so stressed out, like, because this is the thing that I really want to do, and when I finally get it, be like,
So that's
oh.
I thought I'd be more stressed when I got it, but
Mhm.
like I said, the art directors are so good about like, here's what you need to do, here's the time you have to turn in sketches, and here's the time you have for your final. That being said, if you think you need more time towards the end, just let us know, because there's always time. But
Yeah.
they would like
Yeah,
if they
they
want
build enough of like a bleed in there.
correct. They would prefer you get it done by that deadline. But if you're like, hey man, I'm a little behind here because of whatever reasons. Like the second card I took is due at the same time as the first card. And I was like, damn. So okay, we can do this. So that, like, but I got to get my sketches in by tomorrow just so I stay on track, basically. And like, I've got enough of a support system where I'm like, here's what I'm thinking. Tell me what you guys think. And some people are like, that's not going to work. Here's what you need to do. Like, there's specific words that they give you in the prompt. And you need to just follow most. You'll see when you get it. They capitalize those words. So you're
It would
like,
be
those
nice.
are important.
So what I'm doing right now with these commissions is usually people who don't really know much about art, and they'll be
Yeah.
like, "We want you to make something for our event," and I'm like, "Okay, do you have an idea?" No, just something
Correct.
epic, something cool.
Something
So,
epic.
yeah. So what I was doing with the last job I did, I pitched like 5 ideas, and really I wanted to work on like 2 of them, and I thought that's just what I should do.
Yeah.
I was talking to Elena about it. She's like, "Yeah, don't do that.
Right.
Just do like 1 or 2." Because they always pick the one you don't want to work on.
Yep.
So
So every artist who's I spoke to
Yep.
about magic before I submitted my sketches said, if you've got, try to go for 3 ideas. And I submitted 4 on the first sketch just because I came up with this 4th idea that was like, I liked it. I didn't submit any sketch I didn't want to do. Let's just start with that,
yeah.
right? So they could have picked any of the 4 and I'd have been like solid. 4 was my favorite though, but I didn't say anything. I just submitted them all, But everyone said submit 3. Do not submit one where you're like, this one's okay, maybe.
Yeah,
Because they're
because
gonna pick that one.
yep,
Like the
that's like
story of
a
Chris
hard
Ron,
and
right?
fast rule with everything.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, we had Chris on a couple weeks ago.
Oh, right,
There's a
right.
story he I don't know if he said it on the show or not, but
I don't think he
the,
did.
the other thing is like he basically phoned in a drawing on one. I forget what card it is. It's one of his most popular cards. He just did it. It looks amazing because it's Chris, but he's not happy with the way it turned out. And it's one of his most popular cards. It's consistently brought to his booth to get signed. And he's like, I didn't spend as much time on it because I didn't think it was going to be that popular.
Right.
And that's the kind of, so like basically everything I turned in, I know I'm going to be able to finish it to 100%. My sketches are I'll share those once the card's out, but my sketches are pretty much like 70-75% there. Like I kind of know where everything is. When you're looking at it, you'll be like, I can see all the shapes. I know what's what. So like it's just
Well, you
details.
think I was gonna say you think mostly in shapes than you do like
So
say
that's what
lines.
stresses me out sometimes. Like I'll start putting all these shapes down with the current one. I'm just like, I'm not seeing what I want to see yet. I kind of have an idea, but then when I start putting it together, I'm like, this doesn't look right. And it's like I'm moving stuff around a lot. Yeah, I think in like shapes, so everything looks like a jigsaw puzzle that's moving. It sounds weird and chaotic because it is.
I think it's beneficial for something like Magic where it's like a 2x3 read or even smaller. I think than that.
Yeah,
Small, yeah.
it's tiny.
Yeah,
That's the other thing. I gotta like zoom out.
It's not even 2x3. It's
no, it's
because that's the size of the card. The card is like
That's the
2.5
card
by 3.5.
itself.
But
Yeah.
then the actual image, if you're not doing a full art, it's like an
It's
inch
tiny.
by an inch and a half or something like that.
So that's the other rule. It's like zoom out, and then Scott does something called a squint, where you just like really squint at it and try to see if you can get a read on it.
Yeah.
But the key is just if you're digital, it's if you're doing it traditionally, obviously take a step way back and look at it and see if you can read it still. If you're digital, just zoom out till it's so tiny, and if you can still. So in Photoshop, the trick is the little navigator window. It's about the size of the card. It's about the size of the card window. Unless you're like on a laptop or something. But it's about the size of the card. So like while I'm working, I can look in that little navigator window and I could be like, I can still see what it is. I almost said what it is, but I can see what it is. So
Well, it's not live, so you could just
I would have
That's
to
true.
edit.
You could always
It's
edit.
like Tom Holland on the Avengers
So
story.
the one thing they did tell us is like so magic artists can talk to other magic artists about what they're working on. Obviously, the
Yeah.
the people that end up getting magic artists in trouble are their friends who play magic that they talk to about it. That
Yeah.
are like, I won't tell anyone. Don't worry,
Uh,
and you won't. You'll keep that promise. But what ends up happening is sometimes you slip up and
It
be like,
comes
oh, I
out.
heard Alan's working on this, and you're like, ooh, I shouldn't have said that out loud.
yeah.
Because people were coming up to me at C2E2 who were like, I heard you got a card, and I'm like, how?
Yeah.
So
Well,
there's like this
thankfully
like
you can say that. You can
that
say
I
that.
can say, but it was like the fact that I at that point like my announcement online was just to my like core group of friends. So I was just like, how are people finding out? People just find out. It's like
Mhm.
the next Universes Beyond set that's coming out. People have already leaked it, and you're just like, how? I'm not gonna say it just in case, but there's
Yep.
posts about it, and you're just like, holy crap! Because Magic fans are crazy. They're like borderline Batman level detectives. Like they have their ways, I guess. It's
Well,
cool,
there
I
was
guess.
a guy who made a YouTube video of unboxing. I think it was March of the Machines Aftermath before it came out. Somehow he got a box of it from his
Oh
LGS
yeah,
before it
wasn't
released,
that
and and Wizards like sent the Pinkertons
That's
to
right.
his house.
right? Yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot about that. Yeah,
Sometimes
that's kind
Wizards
of
just
fucked
does
up.
things where you're
It's
like,
not worth
guys,
it. It's not
yeah.
worth it.
Sometimes Wizards does stuff like that, and you're just like, why?
The fucking Pinkertons.
Pinkertons of all the,
They have a really great reputation, right? Yeah.
And a
it's
stellar
it's
reputation, absolutely outstanding, spotless even.
it's hard to work for that company
No, no
sometimes.
cracked skulls or murders or anything within that company.
I mean, it's Hasbro, man.
Yeah. It
Hasbro's.
sounds like Magic still treats their artists very well.
I mean, they're nice
Um,
to us,
yeah. You
so
can, I
far.
mean, the fact that you can still sell your prints,
Yeah.
like Fantasy Flight doesn't do that.
Fantasy Flight
And
doesn't
they
do
don't,
Fantasy
much. They
Flight
should
doesn't do that.
no, they don't.
they
No,
should let you for
Fantasy
the amount of money they're
fucking
paying
Flight,
you.
really? Yeah.
because it's all licensed.
Oh, that's
Right.
right.
So
Yeah.
That's exactly
it's
why.
like even with Magic, with Universes Beyond, you can't sell
Correct.
prints.
Well,
But
Universes
I think
Beyond,
you
you'll
They
get
get
even
paid a
have
paid
little bit
more.
don't they even
more.
have it where they say like, oh no, that's dependent on certain licenses because certain licenses were like you can't do a traditional artwork; it has to be digital. Like I
Universes
think
Beyond, it has to be digital, depending on the license. Yeah.
depending on license. Okay, because I know
But you
like I think
can't sell
Tolkien
anything
was
extra on those
that
because those
right.
IPs are, yeah, you're not allowed to make prints. You're not allowed to make anything with those because um,
Yeah.
there's very specific things without those licenses.
I,
Yeah, it's just your signatures that you can interact with.
I get the Prince thing. I draw the line at them being like, you can't. It has to be digital. You can't do an original artwork. It's like no,
I
I
mean,
know.
I think
Well,
depending on the set, it has to be digital. Like,
well, I know that's
It's
why.
odd.
I know that's why Donato did not do a Tolkien piece when they did Lord of the
right,
Rings.
it
Is
had to
for that
be
exact reason.
digital, right? And I can
Yeah,
tell you the current one that's coming out, it's all has to be digital.
I
Yeah, because like
strongly
Ryan
I
Panakal has just been
strongly
doing all
disagree with
oils.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like artists like Ryan are like can't get in there, right? Because it's
Yeah,
like there are artists in the set that are traditional painters who are now painting digitally because that is in their wheelhouse too. Which kudos to them because I don't think I can go back both ways, right? Like my traditional stuff is meh, you know.
it's just it's a principle of the matter kind of deal. Like
Well, it's like because like you should be allowed to sell that traditional piece for at least
you should be allowed to sell that one-off original traditional piece that you're not going to make prints of. That's fine. I
correct.
can acquiesce that. I can give that kind of thing. It's like, yeah, I get it. Your
Yes,
license, whatever makes it, whatever. But that honestly, so that is on the same level as Disney going after Karl Barks for his DuckTales paintings that he used to do.
that's right. I
Because
mean,
he
don't mess with the
because he
mouse, man.
well, apparently don't mess with Hasbro either. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, no, he made like this is like well after he did his DuckTales run. He was famous for DuckTales. DuckTales was
right,
famous because of him and stuff. Yeah,
right.
he would make these like he would do commissions for like one off original art pieces, and Disney came down on him And it was like, no, no, you don't own that. You can't sell that. Or if you sell it, you need to give us a cut.
Right.
And
Because
it's
Yeah.
like,
technically they own the rights to the
fuck
property.
you.
I haven't seen
Yes.
Wizards really like come down on anyone that's making like fan art, unless if it's. I mean, the only time they care about it is if it's like NSFW stuff and they don't want. Like
Right.
you can't be officially like affiliated with them and doing things with their characters that they don't want you
Right.
to be
And
doing. Yeah.
I understand that also, from a branding perspective, like trying to respect it and everything. It's just I know, just the asking artists to like not do an original art because of this certain license. It's like, no, that's just, it riles me up. It's the wrong, it feels wrong. It's
I
ethically
mean,
wrong.
people sign up for it though, right? They literally will be like, you get paid
They
X
sign
for a
up for it,
card.
but that's the same argument I feel like people make for Fantasy Flight, where it's like, don't work for
Right.
Fantasy Flight. It's not a good company. It's not good pay rate. I don't care. You get to work on Star Wars. Don't work for them.
The pay
That's a
rate
bad
is horrible.
garbage.
Do you know what?
No, it's
Do you know what they
garbage.
pay per card at Fantasy Flight?
Has it
$150.
gone up?
Yeah.
$150.
It's still
Yeah.
150.
Well, I don't know if it's gone up, but last I checked, which, we had an art director who worked there on once, and she said they at least try to like help you with portfolios and give you some advice, and which they
Yeah,
better do something for that cost,
and again,
But
it's
people want
not
to work
like,
on Star Wars, right? So you're
yeah, it's
gonna.
like,
Yeah.
I
I
don't
want to work
have
on
any
Star Wars,
like,
but not for $150.
no, I don't have any like begrudging thing towards like the art directors or anything, because it's,
Right, it's
we're
not
all
their
stuck.
fault,
Yeah, we're all stuck in the same shit fight.
right?
But you think about like the people that are higher up that make those kind of big decisions where they say like, yeah, I know we should only pay like this amount of money for it, for this license that we own,
Right.
that would give us like buco things of money regardless. It's like, yeah, I don't care. It's Star Wars. You give
I
me
mean, here's
tack
the thing:
another like
Hasbro's
zero
getting
onto that 150 and maybe we'll talk. I feel
right.
like it should even be higher still.
I mean, WotC pays pretty good for. Well, here's the thing: their costs are based on what the card is. So, like, my
Hmm.
card is cost X, and it's just like like because it could either be a rare, a common, legendary, whatever. So, depending on that ladder,
So,
the cost of the card goes up.
oh,
I
interesting.
didn't know. I thought that you didn't even. So you know the rarity of the card
I
when you're
don't.
painting it now. Yeah, I didn't. I
So
didn't think you
I don't know.
did.
Like, but if I wanted to, like, I can be like, the
Forced
assumption
amount.
is a cost determines the rarity, but but you'll know how this works. A card comes out and it's just whatever. It's like a
Hmm.
common, and then it becomes like the most bananas card, and everyone's playing it, and then the value goes up, right? Because it's
Yeah,
popular,
the secondary market. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
that you don't
with the
know
print and stuff, it really just depends on if the players like it.
that.
Some
Yeah.
of the most beautiful cards don't get played a lot, and the prints don't sell well either.
Yeah. So, and
Yeah.
then I know in the
I
universes
was
beyond they pay more.
Forrest
So,
ML's been making some really cool YouTube videos. I don't know if you've been watching any of them, but he was talking about how he was working on a card and he thought it might be rare, and he was thinking about like how the color of the frames that they usually use for rares would play with his composition, and just hoping that it would go together, because he noticed that he really liked it
mm,
when the frames accented the work inside the artwork.
yep.
um,
Oh no,
but
is this gonna be like
unfortunately you
it
don't
wasn't a
know.
rare?
I'm not sure if it was the rarity he was hoping for, but um, it's interesting listening to him talk about making stuff for WotC, because before that I think he worked on Smite, and some stuff for Riot.
Yeah.
So
I think he worked on Hearthstone, right?
yeah, he worked. I don't know if he still works for them, but there's a studio called Wild Blue Studios that actually
Oh,
does a
cool.
lot
Oh
of
yeah.
like portfolio reviews and stuff on Twitch. I used to watch their streams. Um, but yeah, he was affiliated with them, and they did not Hearthstone, Legends of Runeterra. Maybe it was Hearthstone. They're the same
I
thing,
don't
right?
remember. Maybe they all kind of blend together at some point.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, well, we can gripe all day about pay. I do
No,
think
I'm just getting into it, and like with just all the private commissions, it's like setting my own prices. I've been lowballing myself. I was shot. I got paid twice as much as what I asked for my last
Oh
job,
yeah.
which was
yeah,
amazing. They were
you realize
wonderful to
that.
work with. So
That's
yeah,
always
You
like a weird feeling when that first happens. You realize like, "Oh,
yeah,
no." And then you're like, "Oh god, have I been lowballing myself this entire time? I could have been asking more."
yeah,
you can
right.
always ping, like I always ping Andrew when I get some commission work to be like, what would you charge for something in this vein? Because I'd be like, this is what I want to charge, and Andrew would be like, is almost more, and I'm just like, all right, that sounds better. Because basically, if they're not going to pay you what you want, why do you even want to do the job, right? Um,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so be like, this is the cost. You
You
like my
and you can
work? This is what you pay,
always, if you word it carefully, you can always leave yourself a back door to be like, "If this is too rich, we can always talk it out
right?
and negotiate from there." But I would always say, like, go as high as you think you possibly can because they may not balk at it. They may just be like, "Whatever, that's the cost."
yeah,
Yeah, you'd be surprised at
yeah.
how
I'm
people are
figuring that
just
out.
their budgets are always more than they say, especially
It's
in the board game industry. They got money,
Okay.
so but they will lowball you. Fantasy Flight is a
Right,
prime example. Fantasy Flight has so much money; they should be paying way more for those cards.
right now, what I'm mostly doing is like stuff for event organizers. Um, so I just did this one for the convention, and I've got something else that might be coming through soon. But I know all of these Magic the Gathering content creators, and I'm creating like play mats for them.
That's
Um,
cool.
yeah, it is really fun. And it's nice to some of them I know personally too, and it's nice
Oh,
to.
her
Uh-oh.
your
Uh,
mic cut out for a second.
Oh, I was just saying it's nice to just like be able to boost someone up.
Yep.
mm,
No, I mean that's a good. You do some mats for Magic
yeah.
artists, and then you start getting a name for doing that kind of stuff, and then you get a booth at a convention, and then
Yeah.
more people notice your stuff. Like I said, when you're coming to
I had
Gen
that
Con, right?
I had this huge my painting was blown up to 8 foot by ten
Yeah, I saw
foot
your
at
banner.
MagicCon Chicago,
Yep.
right there in the front. I was just flabbergasted that it was there
Did you
all
get to talk to any
weekend.
of the art directors when you were there?
Yeah, I talked to Zach Stella a little bit.
Cool. He's chill.
Um, but he was busy and it was the
Yep.
end of the day, so um but yeah, it was a really good experience. It was nice because it was local too, so
Yeah.
it's
I was lucky.
easy.
His name's Steven Belladin. Hooked me up with a badge. I literally forgot to get a badge. The show sold out, and I was like, "Great, good job." Like, and then I messaged my rep for Reed Pop, and I was like, "Yo, hook me up with a badge already." And he got back to me pretty late in the game, so luckily Steven got back to me. But yeah, but when you come to Gen Con, that's a good opportunity to like. When I used to do shows like Gen Con, I used to always go to like different, assuming you want to work for board games, just to do freelance work.
Yeah,
But I used to go talk to the art directors, just get reviews, and then show them my work. And sometimes Magic is there. Um, I don't remember if they were there. There was one art director from Magic there last year, if I remember. Can't remember her
yeah,
name.
there's usually some people around. Like I met Jessica Lanzillo
Yep.
years ago, and she's been someone that I've kept in touch with too. And now she's doing stuff for D&D. I'm not sure if it's
I
on
would
the
love
art
to do something
side,
for
but
D&D.
it'd be cool.
My stuff doesn't fit their aesthetic. Never know. Maybe.
Always
Maybe they'll
changes.
expand the style guide.
Dude, the WotC style guy is
I'd love to
bananas.
do I'd love to do some stuff for like tabletop
Yeah,
games. I've talked to some people at Paizo before. I play a lot of Pathfinder, so half
I
of
don't.
my portfolio is just my
Paizo.
characters that I painted. Yeah.
I think I
Um
can get you some art directors over there. One of our friends used to work for them a lot. If you're interested, I can ask her. Um, Pathfinders, I never played, but I heard isn't it like D&D first edition, second edition?
well, they came out with Pathfinder second edition at Gen Con a few years ago. And it's more simplified and streamlined. The nice thing about Pathfinder is it's just a little bit more customizable than D&D. Like D&D is more like just pick it up, make your character in 5 minutes, and play.
Yeah.
But Pathfinder is a little bit more rules intensive.
Okay.
So it lets you really customize, um, but it is a little bit more difficult to pick up. You know.
I guess if
Am
you're
I
like a
wrong? I was gonna say, am I wrong in remembering that like it's based off of the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons rule set or whatever, and then it got modified from that?
When D&D Fourth Edition came out, people hated it so much that Pathfinder was born. It was
Oh yeah,
basically
yeah.
just
So
D&D 3.5. Um, and from there, it became its own system with its
Oh,
own
gotcha.
lore, with its own
I bet they
story
got
and
more
everything.
popular with the OGL bullshit that happened last. Was it last year?
So yeah, it was really funny because Paizo was posting that they would never do this, and I can't remember what they did, but they basically made it so that they would never be able to pull the crap that Wizards was doing, and they were using it as advertising.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
yeah.
everybody was like, "Our stuff's free."
But the other thing they had to do was because of that, they went through and any of their spells or the races that had the same names as some of the wizard stuff, they changed. So like Burning Hands has a different name now
That's smart.
than it used to. Yeah, future proofing it so
I mean,
wizards
because you
can't
never know,
compete with
right?
them.
Because Hasbro might be like, "Let's go after them for this. Let's go after them for
Mhm.
that."
Yeah.
Um. All right. Well, we're a little over time. Just realized that. That's just what
We are
happens.
always over
We
time.
We're
didn't do
always
show and
over.
tell.
Yeah,
We
we got
have a
to get
show
to the
and
show and
tell.
tell portion of it. That's the next part. You can go first if you want, or one of us can go first.
I'll go
Doesn't.
first. I'm all ready.
Yeah.
I've got my thing right
Yeah.
here. I was going to say X-Men 97, but I
You
was
made
actually
us
thinking
not
more
take
of
it.
like, yeah, I did. It's really X-Men 97, but I grabbed this little art book off of my shelf, the Lord of the Rings
Oh, the
sketchbook.
Allen.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Alan Lee, yeah, Alan Lee was the reason that I started making fantasy art. His pencil sketches are just like
they're they're
Yeah.
insane.
It's
everything.
so good.
Um, and when I didn't even own this book until like a year and a half ago. I used to just go to the bookstore when I was in middle
Just peruse
school,
it.
and I just look at it and
Yeah.
draw from it. And all of my sketchbooks were filled with these like he's got a very distinctive like kind of halftone
Yep.
style.
Yeah.
And all of my stuff looked like well, I tried to make it look like this in high school. I bet if I looked back.
I wanted to draw like Jim Lee, so
How to draw comics the Marvel way.
that is anyone who wants to learn anatomy, how to draw Carlos the Marvel Way is the go-to book that even Scott Fisher will recommend to start with.
Funny, yeah. I'm sure there's a copy somewhere.
They're like
Um,
$5 anywhere.
If you have
oh
the
yeah.
choice of any starter book, please that one.
That is the
Don't do
starter
drawing
book.
on the right side of the brain. Just do that one.
Don't do drawing the rest of the brain. And if you want to learn how to do good, so a lot of my work involves drawing character work, involves doing silhouettes. Skillful Huntsman. I pitch that all the time in Scott's class. It's like a $20 book.
Is
It'll
that book
make you.
still in print or is that
Yeah,
out?
it's still in print.
Oh, is it still in print? All right. Because I got that thing like 20 years ago at this point, so I have no
Yeah, yeah.
idea.
Mine's super old and janky, but it's like, assuming you want to drawing silhouettes for characters is a good way to like. One of my, I used to also do world building mentorships under Sean Murray, and one of the things he taught me was if you look at any of the silhouettes on any Star Wars character, you'll be able to tell who they are, right? If it's just a
Mhm.
shadow, just a silhouette, which if it doesn't read that well, like what the Millennium Falcon looks like just by the way the silhouette looks. You know what an X-wing looks like just by the silhouette. That's an X, whatever. That's a bad example, but you get what I'm saying. If your silhouette doesn't read, your character is not going to read. You know,
Yeah.
and so the Skillful Huntsman came in handy. Scott makes you draw silhouettes all day to help you get your brain working. It's a fun process.
Somehow for me it was like Maxfield Parrish, Norman
Yeah.
Rockwell, like the really Arthur Rackham, all of these
Hmm.
really, really old illustrators were the ones I was looking at when I was a kid. Don't know how that happened, but
I mean, if you like the pencil sketches and stuff, you should definitely look up Alan Williams, who I mentioned earlier. He does, and Tim Von Ruden. Tim's like
oh yeah, he's
probably been,
great.
yeah. So like it's all like pencils, man. Tim was across from me at C2E2, and he was just like, we were dying. We were both dying at that show. So We still went to Chinatown. I'm like, we're still getting dinner. We've earned it at the end of the day, you know. So you didn't talk about X-Men '97. Good job.
I
um,
didn't. If
I'm
you
gonna
want to
talk
talk about
about
it, go for it.
this is a game called Dragonborn. I pitch Free League a lot. When you're at shows, they were at C2E2. They do show up to. They'll be at Gen Con. Free League makes a lot of role playing games. Like each game has its own rule set, so it's not based on 5e. It's not based on like they have a couple more board rule sets. This one, its own rule is its own rule set. It's basically a D20 based games rule set. It's got all the dice, but it comes with like everything you need to play. It's got like it's got like a map. It's got some characters. It's got I think 11 or 12 adventures, and then it's pretty. Their games are designed to play pretty fast and quick. They also have, since I'm talking about Free League real quick, they also have. I've pitched this before. They have the license to do the One Ring, which is I bought this not to play it. It's got a ton of lore inside of it, and it's done really well. But
There's a
they
group at a local game store that plays this like every Monday, and it looks like a lot of fun.
so yeah, the rules for this are a little out there for me, but they realize this. So this is probably the only game they sell now that they've also made a 5e version of it. So it's exactly this book. Everything's exactly the same, but the rules are 5e. So which, if you play 5e, you can figure out how to convert this into 5e pretty easily. You don't need to spend money on a second book. But yeah, Dragonborn is like I think it's like a $40 game, something like that. 40. I forget. I traded for it, but it's fun and it's got all these different character classes. It comes with 5 pre-made characters and character sheets, and so like it says 1 to 6 players, so I don't know why it comes with only 5 characters because I guess one player is the DM at that point, so you're stuck that way. But everything you need is in this box, and it's fun. And I've been trying to get like my group to play. We play D&D, and I'm just like, let's try something different. Like D&D is
Yeah.
fun, but it's always there,
I've got
Yeah.
all kinds of tabletop systems that I haven't used. Like I've got Bunkers and Badasses from Borderlands. I've got the Dragon Age Inquisition one that came out.
Yeah,
Divinity Original Sin is coming out with one soon that we
that's supposed to be
kickstarted.
fun.
So it's like a few of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean this is all Free League right here, the shelf,
Mhm.
and I've only played like 2 or 3. There's another one I mentioned by them called Vassian, which is like Nordic horror. So if you like Lovecraftian stuff, oh, they
All
also
right.
have the license for like Alien and Blade Runner, which I don't really want to play Alien RPGs. I don't like the idea of those things chasing me, even in a game. So
Yeah, that wouldn't really be for me.
yeah, Lovecraftian horror is there's a mixed bag of like cool and not really, which is weird, right? Because you don't mind fighting zombies and dragons in D&D. So
Yeah.
I
Arkham
The
Horror is
alien
really popular.
yeah,
That's the Lovecraftian one that I'm familiar with.
the alien one, is that a RPG or is that a board game? Board game.
no, it's an RPG.
Ah,
I
gotcha.
don't
Because
have
like
that one.
there is a alien board game that exists. It's like not officially licensed, so it's not like the Xenomorphs and all that. But it is basically it's like you look at it as like, oh, this is just Alien without the skin on. I gotcha.
That
Um,
doesn't sound fun.
well, it sounds very interesting because it's kind of a hit and roll sort of game.
Okay.
So you all start
Oh,
off
like
as like
Mafia.
kinda, yeah. It's not in the same way as Mafia, but that's like the kind of the closest analog I can have for it, where um, everyone starts off as crew members, and then one person, as you're starting to play, I guess like what happens is like some person draws a "you fucked up" card, and you got infected, and
Okay.
then that person eventually like they don't tell anyone. When they just get the fucked up card, they're like, okay. And then eventually they throw down, it's like, I've got a chest burster coming out of me right now.
Oh God.
And
Okay.
at that very
Okay.
instant, they're no longer a crew member. They're now an alien. And so the game shifts, like as more and more people get infected or killed, the game shifts from predominantly crew members to predominantly aliens. and your whole goal is to either be, I think, the last person alive, or the last person killed in the game, or you're supposed to like escape the thing.
I'd
Like
imagine you want to get the
escape
fuck
this
out
mission.
of there.
Well, it's like
Yeah.
I if I
You
remember right,
can't
I
fight the
think
xenomorph.
yeah, you can't fight the
No, you just gotta
xenomorphs.
run,
You'll
man.
die.
You can do some stuff to like delay them in some way, or like kind of like an Alien Isolation kind of deal, where it's like you can't
That
ever
game
directly
is
fight them on, but you can always do ways to deter them in some way to keep them back from you for a little bit.
sure.
But it is basically like your cat and mouse kind of game, and you can't immediately. I can't remember why you can't immediately get off the ship for some reason. But then there's a point in the game where that option is now unlocked. And then at that point, it's like, you fucking go. You got to get going and get out to the
I can't
escape
play
hatch
games
kind
like
of deal.
that.
I
As
know,
I
it sounds great. I love it. It sounds
Isolation was
incredibly intriguing to me.
so creepy. I
It's
don't
a
know
game
how people are
I
playing that
Oh,
still
game.
need to finish
I
it.
can't do horror games.
Yeah.
I'm
I started
16 hours into it.
oh, what's that one? The one in space.
Dead
No,
Space?
Dead
yeah,
Space?
Dead Space. I started Dead Space and I heard something thumping in the other room, and that was the end of the game for me.
Yeah, the first time I played that, there was like I was on a walkway and I looked to the left and this thing like went by and it was below me though, and I was just like, "What the fuck was that?" And my friends all started laughing. I'm like, "I'm not playing this game." And I was like, that is I don't want to run into whatever that was ever." So
I normally don't like horror games. I like the Alien Isolation game a lot, and I still need to finish it. But I do have a good Dead Space story. I was living in Atlanta at the time. My best friend came to visit, and I told him like, "Hey, I just got this game. Like, do you want to try it out with me?" He is not a horror person whatsoever. He does not like scary things at all. So we're playing it. So naturally, that meant I had to turn off the lights, and we had to play it in the dark because I'm that friend.
you're that asshole.
Yes, yes, I am that asshole. So we're playing it, and I think it was like the first scare, like the first monster, whatever. Already, it's like, you get a lot of like atmosphere and stuff leading up to that, and then the first monster appears. It wasn't even like I was facing the wrong way when it first did its like jump scare, so it didn't initially get us. But then I turned around and I saw it, and for some reason, when I turned around and saw it, he leapt out of his chair when that happened. But at the same time, the screen started to tear. Uh,
Oh.
yeah, like so, like the polygons started to do like
Yeah.
that kind of deal, and then the game crashed. And so I was like, this feels like a sign. I'm just not gonna
Yeah.
play it.
Stop playing it now.
Because
The
that was already
television
like,
was possessed. It was
well,
paranormal activity.
because the only other time I think that happened was like, did either of you ever play Arkham Asylum way back in
Batman?
the what? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah,
do
I
you
played all of them.
remember? Sorry.
I played all of those. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So do you remember? I want to say it's like the second Scarecrow encounter in Asylum, where it's like you're
Side
walking.
scrolling one?
No, not the side-scrolling one. You're walking in the jail cell thing, and Scarecrow's giving his monologue, and then the game stutters a bit, and then it also starts to screen tear, and then it locks up, and it goes black, and like for a couple, and it goes black for like I think 30 seconds or so, long enough to be like, oh, did my game fuck up?
I
Kind of
don't
deal.
remember.
Oh yeah, so they fake out crashing your Xbox or whatever you were playing on it at the time, which I thought was like, this is awesome. I love that. I love that kind of thing. So when that happened in Dead Space, that was my first reaction. And then Windows gave it the error code. I was like, oh, I don't think this is part of the game.
It
Yeah,
wasn't
it is
intentional.
broken.
Yeah.
What was your thing you were gonna show?
So I was gonna talk about Star Trek just because that's
Okay.
been
Wait,
I've just been
Discovery?
rewatching.
Which one?
No,
Oh,
no,
you've been
just
watching the Next Generation.
Yeah, I just been rewatching Next Generation because I'm almost out of my
Um,
Paramount trial thing, so I just been binging that.
have you watched
Um,
Lower Decks?
yes, I am all caught up. Waiting for that new season. I do love Lower Decks. That's
So good.
probably my
Is
favorite.
that on
of the-
Paramount?
Oh yeah, they're all on
Oh,
Paramount.
okay. I'll find it.
Lower Decks is
It's really good. If you like Next Generation and Deep Space Nine,
Yep.
it's a very good cozy blanket to feel with those. Where
That's an
you put on, you're like,
animation, right?
yeah, oh yeah, but
Yeah.
Okay.
it's really good. It's really good. I think it got very unfairly maligned when it was first previewed and stuff, because everyone was like, "Oh, this is just some like Family Guy bullshit with Star Trek and whatever." It's like, no, it really isn't. It's actually really smartly written, and it's still
That's yeah.
it feels very very Star Trek. Like there's a lot in it where you're like, "Yeah, this is some Star Trek bullshit. Sign me up. I'm for this."
The show, the guy who did Family Guy, he did a show like Star Trek stuff.
Yes, the Orville.
Orville.
That's actually
Which
a pretty good show. If
it it
you
is
didn't like
good.
it,
No, it is no, it is good.
Serviceable.
there
The
you
issue
go.
is so Jordan. I don't know if you had this issue or not, but like the issue for me with the Orville was when I was watching it, I'd be like, oh, this is that Star Trek episode where they did this. Oh,
Right.
this is the Star Trek episode where they did this as well. And it's like the Orville episodes, they're fine, but I remember better versions of those in the Star Trek episodes.
Yeah, it just felt like the writing was kind of clumsy.
Yeah.
So Star Trek would do this awesome episode that would make you think about humanity, and then Orville would try to do it, but it would just kind of get 70% there. Yeah, that's
Like
how I
not
felt
fully
about
there. I
Orville.
think
Mhm.
allegedly, I didn't watch beyond the first few episodes or whatever in the first season, but I allegedly in the second season, I think they dropped a lot of the humor or they toned it down a bit.
Yeah, they
I haven't
do.
seen the second
Okay.
season, so
It's still like it's just the
It's still
writing
the same
wasn't
kind of
quite as
feel.
good. Yeah,
gotcha.
it's just like generic, bargain bin Star Trek.
I well,
Bargain
so yeah. Now I was gonna share a book, but yeah, no, fuck it. I'm just sharing Star Trek.
No, I mean I've been thinking about watching the Next Generation over, but I've been trying to watch Discovery, which I think is on like
Remember, I
season
think it was like
3.
2 years ago that I rewatched Next Gen,
I
and it holds
may
up.
yeah,
Next
it
Gen
really
is
does.
it's one of my
Oh, well,
favorites.
don't watch the first season. The first season's
I
terrible.
mean, come on, man.
The third season's
There's
there's
just
there's like 2 episodes in the first season I want to say that are pretty good,
sure.
and then after that it's just all the rest of those are just like loud wet farts in the first season. That's fine. That's fine.
Tell us how
Mm.
you really feel, man.
But the second, but like honestly, like I know everyone always says like, oh, you should start in on like you should start it on the third season, the good season Star Trek. Second season actually I really like. There's a lot of really good things in the second season. Um, you have
Maybe I'll go back to those.
yeah, you had Data being Sherlock Holmes, and then he accidentally makes Moriarty have or consciousness in the second season. That's great because now they're like, oh shit, we finally fucked up the holodeck. What do we do?
That shit
There's
happens.
yeah, no, there's a couple of things like that. But yeah, I'm probably not going to finish the rewatch of it just because my trial of it is going to be running out soon, or like the free
Right. Is
thing
Discovery
that
on there?
yeah,
You
Discovery's
should
on there.
watch
They're
an
all on
episode of
there.
that. It's pretty good.
Picard is on there. I like
I haven't
Picard,
watched
Picard. It
Picard, but
doesn't
I heard
really
it was
feel like
good.
Star Trek, but I love Patrick Stewart, and he's a good
Picard
actor.
season 1 and 2, I wasn't a big fan of it. Well, season 2 I just skipped over. I was like, this doesn't interest me at all. From what it sounded like, season 1 I was like, this
The
is
last
weird.
season,
It's last season is great
it's
to
the
me.
most fan service. The only
Yeah,
thing about the last season is like it's like Starfleet was supposed to have evolved past this. Like humanity was supposed to get past like all this suspicion and infighting and all of that. So it breaks that utopia, kind of feeling that Gene Roddenberry wanted to have.
yeah.
But yeah, it's
They
a
need a
it's a
story, I
modern
guess.
take.
It's
So it's
it's a
worth
weird
watching.
thing because like for the longest time, uh, especially when when Next Generation first came out, like Gene Roddenberry he was still in good health. This was like before he had all his health issues and stuff that made him step back from it. But this is also the reason why everyone says like skip over the first like couple seasons because he had a mandate where it's like no, we're the future. People don't argue in the future. Everyone has kind of sorted their stuff out, and it's like I get it. Like that is like a very noble thing to speak from and stuff. However, it's like it's hard to believe because like I still feel like even in the future, like even if we've kind of moved past a lot of those things, like say prejudices and that kind of thing, you'll still have people being shit heels to people in some way or another. Like maybe not to the same extent that we are now, but there are people that will just be assholes because they like to be assholes, kind of deal.
Yeah.
Right.
And that kind of writing did eventually come forward, like starting around season 3. Even season 2 kind of had it, but like it started to really pick up in season 3. And you just started to see it more and more where it's like, yeah, like we're not out here and disparaging a person because of like who they are or anything like that. But like you'll have a person be like, I really disagree with you on this, and it's pissing me off that you do not see the problem with this kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Which
for
is
me it
it's
was more
nice.
like all the war crimes that Starfleet commits, and
Oh,
that's in DS9. That's
so
where
yeah,
I was
that
like,
that's that's the
this is
that's
not in the spirit.
yeah. So that's kind of my one annoyance. Is like I like DS9 a lot, but this section, what is it? Section 31? Is that what it's called? Their Black Ops shit.
Hmm. Yeah.
That kind of stuff. I was like, this feels kind of less like a Star Trek thing and more like this feels like like an easy person's way out into that, like, oh, we have to introduce more conflict kind of deal.
Yeah.
Um, and that was also my huge issue with new Strange New Worlds. Which
I like Strange New Worlds.
well, okay, so
I
I have a
liked it,
quibble.
and then it goes a different direction.
I have a quibble with it. But Jordan, did you watch Strange New Worlds?
I haven't seen it. No, I need to catch up on some of the
Do
other
do
newer
you mind
seasons.
if I complain about a very
Go for it.
slight thing with it? Okay,
I
I
don't
just
care
wanted to
about
make
spoilers. It's fine.
perfect. You're just like me then. 'Cause I usually don't care about spoilers either. So Strange New Worlds for the most part, I'm fine with it. It's pretty good. Not as good as Lower Decks, but pretty good. Uh, however, and this is exactly what Jordan said. Like they commit some heinous fucking war crimes against the Gorn in it, and the level of prejudice they have in it is it's kind of bananas. Where it's like fucking like I know like you guys don't trust them because this is even before. Like this all takes place before Kirk has his fight with the Gorn, and they realize like, oh no, like, oh, Kirk realizes like I'm actually the bad guy in this. Like we fucked up. I'm sorry, everyone. We fucked up. This is all before that. So they just kind of treat Gorn as the other in the same way we kind of like in the real world, or even like our modern day fiction, where it's like modern day stuff like 24 or whatever, where we kind of treat like any Arab nation or whatever as just the other, or like Iraq or something like that. It's like, oh, it's just the other. Like we're never gonna understand them because they're the other kind of deal. And they have the same hand with the Gorn with that. And it's like considering, especially when you kind of think about like how Picard talks about how it's like, oh, like we've moved beyond that. We're trying to learn, and we're trying to meet with with any creature. Like there's a whole episode where Picard is trying to communicate with a crystalline entity that they know has killed,
Gonna blow them up.
yeah, that has killed colonists in the past. And as far as they know, is a hostile creature. But he's still like, we need to communicate with it. We need to try and establish communication with it before we do anything drastic.
Right. And you're
And they
like,
do
blast
that.
that thing out of the sky, man.
No, well, no, because it's a noble cause for him to be, and I agree with it. It's like, yeah, sure, like you should try and do that, and they offer that olive branch to it, and they get some kind of response back to it that's like, oh, I think we figured it out. Like this might all just been a misunderstanding, and then immediately the thing gets killed by the guest star of that episode. I forget her name or whatever, but she was a scientist that she lost her son during one of the colony raids. So
Yeah.
Oh
she
yeah.
Yeah, so she purposely kills that thing by basically harmonic frequency shit, where she like
Yeah.
matches the vibration of it and causes it to rupture. And she's like, "Yeah, She's like, "I have no regrets." And Picard's like, "Take her out of my sight, throw her in a brig." She, freaking war criminal, this person. genocide.
Right.
So yeah, that was my one quibble with Star Trek Strange New Worlds was for the most part pretty good, but any time the Gorn stuff comes in, it's like, what you doing with this? Because like considering for the most part, otherwise they're very like, oh, like let's try and talk with these people or let's try and figure out these people. As soon as the Gorn, they're like, oh no, we don't want to talk to them. We're just shoot them out of the sky. They're the Gorn, and it's like,
I get it.
So that's my quibble.
That was a good quibble.
I could keep going about Star Trek. Yeah.
We could do a whole episode of Star Trek later.
Yeah.
We got to wrap this up because we're an hour and a half in now.
Yeah.
But thank you for being on the show, Jordan. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much, Jordan.
Sorry it
Yeah.
took so long.
How do you outro here?
Well,
So
I was going to ask, where can we find you online?
yes.
Mostly on my Twitter. It's just Jordan Lablond. I've got an Instagram as well and an art station. But it's just first name, last name. So if you put it into a search engine, I'll pop up.
We'll put all your links on the bottom of the video too. So.
My next big thing coming up is every year now I'm doing a proxy painting of the Birds of Paradise. It's a magic card. For my group Birds of Paradise, and last year I did this guy right here.
Oh,
that's
cool.
And I'm doing a new one. So that's going to be coming out soon, and that will be available through Birds of Paradise. So everything goes to bringing diversity and inclusion into Magic the Gathering. So it's good cost
That's
too.
great. Yeah,
Oh
it's a good
yeah,
cause.
that's awesome.
Do you have
Proud of
colored
it.
edges on your mat?
Yeah, so I got this done through Gamer Mats. They're pastimes
Yeah, I know gamer
printers,
Mats. Yep.
and you can get the clear stitched edges, and it's beautiful, and it's held up really well.
They were my original playmat makers. They got so busy. Like it's hard for me to place giant orders with them now. Alan Hockman and I are pretty good friends.
I haven't been doing it for too long, so I haven't had those problems yet, but
it's coming. Don't worry, I got plenty of
Coming.
vendors. So when
Yeah,
that problem
okay.
happens, just reach out. I got a
I'll
dozen
ask you.
vendors now. Basically, you have to have all the vendors because like if vendor A is busy, you go to vendor B and down the line. So you get to that last person where you're like, I don't like you as much, but I really need you to come into play.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thanks for
Andrew, where
having
can we
me.
find your Andrew? Where can we find your stuff?
Oh, I was like, what? asidesart.com.
Everywhere.
And Alan, yeah, everywhere.
Yeah,
Just
mine's all
type in
under
Twitter.
AllenPanakal art everywhere on all socials except TikTok still. As we all know, someone's squatting on my name. So
I hate that. Ugh.
yeah. And someday,
At this rate, like TikTok seems to be doing the same thing that all social media companies are doing. So it's like, not that drastic of a loss.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of
out.
like when I talk to my lawyer, it's like, how big a deal do you want to make out of this if you're not going to use it for like if I'm not going to use this much for advertising and marketing, then it's really not worth the fight, right?
Yeah,
like,
is it
whatever.
worth it?
So on TikTok, I'm the real AllenPanakal art because that's what he told me to change my name to. But yeah, whoever's sitting on my name, fuck you, man, because you're doing nothing with the name. Our next guest was hopefully Sarah Finnegan.
Okay.
I started talking to her this afternoon, so we'll see if she's got time. If you know Sarah's work, she's another magic artist. So that's what's happening. Again, thank you, Jordan. I appreciate it. We should probably have you back on and do a whole episode about Star Trek because apparently y'all a bunch of nerds when it comes to Star Trek. So I'm like here and you guys are there. But if you did Star Wars, there's a good chance it can go the other way.
I mean, I can do that too.
Yeah,
I met my husband playing Star Wars: The Old Republic.
That's a fun fucking game. But let's not go down that rabbit hole right now. But that's cool. Give me a second to take us offline here.
Right.
Thanks for everyone who watched. See you guys in 2 weeks.